Have you ever been watching a game showcase and thought, damn, this looks like lemon curd, only to taste it and realise it tastes like Marmite? I imagine you have, because as of late, the gaming industry has turned into what a lot of different industries have turned into. A simple way to bank a bit of buck. And unfortunately, a lot of game companies have turned into that. Of course, there are exceptions, and amazing games have been released over the last few years. It might just be me, but it feels like there are more bad games than there are good games coming out from AAA studios and other studios which used to produce top-tier games but now just release slop. One of the big exceptions to this, in my opinion, is Fromsoftware, and that is exactly why I wanted to talk about Elden Ring in today's video. In a few weeks' time, it'll be 3 years since Elden Ring's release. And in that time period, hell, even recently in the last 6 months, there has been so many terrible games which are honestly steamier than the pavement underneath the dog poop. And due to that, I thought it was the perfect time to revisit Elden Ring and what made it so great and what distinguished it from so much slop. A goal of mine before the end of the year is to try and reach 20,000 subscribers. If, and only if, at the end of the video you have enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribe as it greatly helps the channel. Without any further ado, Dadlin, please sit back, relax, grab a juicy bowl of prawns if you want, and enjoy. Now normally I go straight into the topics of gameplay and the such, and what intricacies truly makes these kind of games so special. But I want to do things a little differently first off. It isn't just the development and the actual things inside the games that truly makes Fromsoftware's games so great and so influential. It also has to do with the leadership behind those decisions. First and foremost, companies are companies. They're a business and they want to make money. That is the go-to thing. Now, there are certain companies that have more love for their creations than others, but at the end of the day, money is the main objective. And we'd all be completely lying to ourselves if we said Fromsoftware was any different. The difference, though, comes in the fact of how that is represented. Fromsoftware has realised something that people have been saying for years. If you make a game and you want to make a big cash book off it and a continued profit further down the line, you've got to make it good and you've got to put care into it. I think a lot of big companies are starstruck by the numbers going straight up. Oh, we released a really good trailer. Pre-orders are through the roof. Yippity-yoo, yippity-ha-ha. But the truth of the matter is, when that game releases and it's absolute dog shite, people are not going to be happy. The respect for the company goes down and subsequent purchases probably aren't going to happen. They're probably going to second guess ever purchasing from that company again. I certainly would. If I've put 60 clams down and I want this good game and I don't get it, I'm going to be pretty pissed off that I haven't got that game, and that's going to lead to distrust in the company. And I think the fact Fromsoftware isn't like this is exactly the reason they are so prevalent inside the gaming industry in 2025 and why people hold them in such high regards. I think the biggest way they deviate is they go all out. A lot of games these days do the bare minimum, but with Fromsoftware's games, they don't do that. They go all out, whether it be the gameplay, the lore, the story, the graphics, everything. And each of those points has a really big role in keeping a continued support and community for their games. I'm going to save what I think is the most important for last. What I first want to talk about is the gameplay. Now, Fromsoftware originally sort of branded their games as this prepare to die. I mean, the first Dark Souls is called the Prepare to Die edition. Now, of course, there was Demon Souls and Kingsfield before that, but Dark Souls 1 is really where the game started to pick up its attraction in mainstream media. Dark Souls came at a time when games were becoming a lot more handholdy, and they still are. What do I mean by that though? Well, it goes back to corporatization of video games. A very easily accessible media source leads to an even bigger profit, because if a game can be accessed by anyone, if there's tons of things telling you this is where you got to go, this is the best way to beat it, add on to this other element and you've got a game which is accessible to all ages, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but at that time when Dark Souls released, it was becoming a hell of a lot more prevalent and a lot of people didn't want that. Hence the popularity rise, in my opinion, of Dark Souls. That gameplay from Dark Souls and Demon Souls evolved forward into the future, a decade later with Elden Ring, which is a culmination of all of Fromsoftware's previous combats. You've got fast-paced combat reminiscent of Sekiro, You've got large-scale bosses of monstrous size and monstrous lore, not to mention also fast-paced combat from Bloodborne. Yet then also that slow methodical combat that you can find in games like Dark Souls and in Demon Souls. You pair all of this together and you've got this masterful combat that is so fun to play, which then leads to increased replay time, which then leads to people being more involved in the story and the other elements of Elden Ring, and by proxy its company Fromsoftware. Going on to the second part of gameplay, you've got the actual going around the map, because contrary to what a lot of people who haven't played Fromsoftware's games, it isn't just about fighting. 90% of Elden Ring is spent running around, collecting stuff, exploring, looking at the sights, not just fighting. And the reason this goes to Elden Ring's favour so much is the open world, which nowadays is sort of a mixed bag. You know, you can get a really good open world or you can get a really shit one. A lot of games that are open world sort of use it as a way to go, oh, we're open world, but really it's just empty space. But with Elden Ring, it's like there's something under every nook and cranny. There's this one instance I think of all the time. I was exploring Caelid about a year and a half after Elden Ring's release, and I came across this fort that had this medallion in it. In my hundreds of hours, I'd never come across this, and it was only after a year and a half that I found it. To me, that's just one example of the depth and intricacies that exist within Elden Ring's world. There is so much, and sometimes people don't like that, but there is so much that you can't get bored, which then further increases replay value. Which then leads to people, as we just talked about, becoming more engaged in Elden Ring for a longer period of time, which then means videos are going to be created, these videos are going to bring in more people, and the cycle continues. The next one is a personal favourite of mine. I have been engaged in the lore of Elden Ring for years now, and I am not getting bored at all. On the channel, we have about 100 videos just on the lore alone, and that's incredible. The amount of content and lore existing within Elden Ring is immense. What leads to Elden Ring's story being so engaging is everything has a meaning, well, at least mostly everything. Again, I think it's really good to talk from personal experience, so a few years ago, about a year after Elden Ring's release, I translated the map obelisk. And on it was tons and tons of Futhark, which if you don't know is the runic alphabet. A lot of people told me that it was simply reused assets and that it wasn't anything meaningful, but that wasn't true. It was fully translatable, at least parts that weren't destroyed. Hindsight's 2020, because in Dark Souls 1 there was also the Titanite slab which was translated, which also happened to be Futhark. This sort of dedication to storytelling leads to an incredible amount of people speculating all the time, continuously, because so many things are left open to the imagination. Like on the map obelisk, there's tons of talk of ice and fire. Is that a reference to A Song of Ice and Fire, which was written by George R.R. Martin, who helped write the backstory before the shattering of Elden Ring? Maybe. Yet with talks of giants, you could also go down the route of, oh, there's the fire giants, and there's also the ice dragons, which sort of are said to have fought against the fire giants. Do you kind of see what I mean? There is so many routes you can go down, that so many theories are created, and that leads to, once again, as we were just talking about, great replay value. And if people are replaying it, that means they've been enjoying it. And if they've been enjoying it, that likely means they're going to buy the next game, leading to an increased reputation, which Fromsoftware has definitely accumulated. When you combine all of this together, you get a masterpiece of a game that has truly accomplished what few games ever have. A little TLDR for this video. The key to Elden Ring's success isn't just that it was an amazing game, it was the community that they cultured and developed due to their amazing gameplay and the very high replay value that exists within Elden Ring. It's a once in a lifetime game, and I know Fromsoftware said they're not done and that Miyazaki says that this isn't his magnum opus. And I want to say, oh, it can't get any better than this, but no, Miyazaki and the team at Fromsoftware, I actually think they probably have a good chance of even topping Elden Ring, and I'm so excited for the future. So everyone, that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. I just wanted to say I've just had a teeth filling and like a little sore bit in my tooth, so if my voice sounds a little bit strange towards the end, I am sorry, honestly. My teeth have just gone completely numb and it's just a bit weird feeling. But yeah, enough of my rambling. Please friends, don't you dare go hollow, and may you find your worth in the waking world. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.